If I put 100 ambitious 25-year-old men in a room today, right? Statistically speaking, 40 years from now, 54 of them will be completely broke.
Oh, wow, 54.
Yeah, 54. And only 5 will be financially independent, and just one, literally one person will be truly wealthy.
That is just a staggering drop-off, actually.
Exactly. I mean, think about that for a second. At 25, every single one of those individuals has a sparkle in their eye, isn't it? They believe life is this grand adventure. They are some percent convinced they're on the path to greatness.
Right, they have all that energy.
But then by age 65, the vast majority are just dependent on others for basic necessities. So the question is, where does all that ambition go? Today, we are decoding a legendary philosophy that answers that exact question.
And it is a very necessary conversation.
It really is. So, welcome to a deep dive specifically designed for you, the driven member of our Income Beyond Salary community. You already know there is more to life than the standard corporate grind or just waiting for a monthly paycheck to dictate your freedom.
Absolutely.
Today's mission is to move away from those tactical financial hacks and uncover the ultimate, underlying blueprint for absolute financial independence.
See, it is a profound shift in perspective. We spend so much time obsessing over the mechanics of wealth, like which stock to pick, which side hustle to start, how to optimize our LinkedIn profiles.
Oh, yeah, constantly.
But we completely ignore the foundational engine that actually drives every single one of those actions. We're looking at a narrative today that explains why the 95% fail and how the tiny 5% manage to break free from that gravitational pull of mediocrity.
So let's start right there with that gravitational pull. We have this jarring statistic. Out of 100 people, 95 do not make the grade. Why do so many people who start out with such high hopes end up struggling so badly?
The overarching reason is something we encounter every single day, actually, often without even realizing it. The great Nobel Prize-winning Dr. Albert Schweitzer was once asked in an interview in London, what is wrong with men today?
What did he say?
He paused, and then he simply said, men simply don't think.
Just they don't think.
Right. And the distinguished psychiatrist Rollo May added a critical layer to this. He pointed out that the opposite of courage in our modern society is not cowardice. It is conformity.
Conformity. Just going along with the herd because it feels safe. Like taking that standard engineering or medical track just because it is what everyone in the family expects rather than because you actually want to do it.
Exactly. Which brings us to a biological reality. Why do humans conform? See, the brain is an incredibly energy-hungry organ. It consumes about 20% of our body's calories.
Right.
So thinking critically, questioning your path, analyzing your environment, making deliberate choices is calorically very expensive.
So we just take the easy way out.
Basically, yes. Human beings are evolutionarily wired to conserve energy by looking at what the tribe is doing and simply copying it. People fail because they are unconsciously acting like the 95% who do not succeed. They are following the herd, but the herd is lost. The economy is structured very much like a wartime convoy, actually. In a convoy, the entire fleet slows down to protect its slowest, weakest vessels so it can remain in formation. Society does the exact same thing. It is actually quite easy to make a living today, right?
Yeah, to just survive.
It takes no particular genius to just get by, to support a family on a basic plateau of security.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because that plateau of security is exactly what our Income Beyond Salary community is actively trying to rise above. But if 95% of people are just biologically defaulting to conformity and ending up broke or stuck, then we really have to ask what actually is success.
That's the real question.
Right. If it is not just going with the flow and it's not just hitting an arbitrary salary band, how do we define it?
The philosophy we are examining today provides a very specific operational definition. Success is defined as the progressive realization of a worthy ideal.
The progressive realization of a worthy ideal. So, meaning it is not a destination, it is the momentum.
That's the direction.
Like a school teacher who is teaching because that is the one thing she passionately decided she wanted to do. Or a woman who deliberately chose to build a home and raise a family and is doing a fantastic job of it. Or the man running the corner store simply because that was his specific, predetermined plan from day one.
Anyone doing a predetermined job deliberately because they actively decided to do it is a success. But the tragedy is that only 1 out of 20 people actually operates that way.
Just 1 in 20.
The rest are outer-directed. They believe their lives are shaped by circumstances, by their boss, by the economy, by all these exterior forces.
I have to push back here, though. Telling someone who is currently broke or, stuck in a soul-crushing cubicle job that a corner store owner is more successful than a miserable multimillionaire feels like a semantic trick.
I hear you.
It sounds like a comforting platitude to make people feel better about not having money. How does this definition of progressive realization actually pay the rent or build real wealth?
That is a very fair challenge, actually. But see, it is not a semantic trick. It's about the physics of human momentum. That miserable millionaire you mentioned is not realizing a worthy ideal. He is stagnant.
Okay, I see.
He has accumulated resources, yes, but without a purpose, he is essentially just sitting on stored potential energy. The person who deliberately chooses their path has forward direction. And direction is the core differentiator that creates compounding value over time.
Ah, compounding value.
Which brings us to the actual mechanism of how we set that direction.
So if direction is the differentiator, what is the actual mechanism? How do we break this biological default of conformity and actually set that direction?
It comes down to a deceptively simple rule, often called the strangest secret. And it is this: we become what we think about.
We become what we think about.
Throughout history, the great wise men, philosophers, and prophets, figures like Marcus Aurelius, Ralph Waldo Emerson, William James, people who disagreed violently on almost everything else in life, were in complete and unanimous agreement on this single point only.
To put a visual to that mechanism, think about a ship leaving a bustling harbor. If you put a captain and a crew on that ship and you give them a specific mapped-out voyage, they know exactly where they're going and roughly how long it will take.
Right.
Because it has that definite goal, and a conscious operator 9,999 times out of 10,000, it is going to get to that exact destination.
Now contrast that with an identical ship. Same hull, same massive engines, but we put no crew on it. No captain at the helm, no aim, no destination. We just fire up the engines, point it out of the harbor, and let it go.
It's a disaster waiting to happen.
What happens, even if it somehow avoids crashing into the docks, it is going to sink in a storm, or it will wind up as a rusted derelict on some deserted beach. It has immense power, but because it has no guidance, it cannot achieve anything. The human mind works exactly the same way.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Think of the human mind like the land of a farmer. Good, fertile soil. The soil itself is completely indifferent to what is planted in it.
It doesn't care at all.
Exactly. So imagine our farmer has two seeds. One is a seed of corn, representing a worthwhile goal. The other is nightshade, which is a deadly poison representing fear, anxiety, or conformity. He digs two holes, plants both seeds, waters them, and cares for the land. What does the land do?
The land will return what is planted. It returns the poisonous nightshade in just as wonderful abundance as it returns the nourishing corn. The mind operates on this exact same universal law.
It just gives back what you put in.
Neuroplasticity confirms this today, actually. The brain does not filter your thoughts for what is good or bad for you. It only filters for what is frequent. If you constantly obsess over your fears, your brain physically wires itself to spot more threats, returning anxiety and failure in devastating abundance.
But if this mind is so powerful, why on earth do we use it for such trivial things? Why do people let anxiety and fear take root so easily?
We underutilize the mind because of a profound psychological blind spot. It comes as standard equipment at birth. It is completely free. Human nature dictates that we place very little value on things that are given to us for nothing. We only assign value to things we pay money for.
The free versus cheap paradox. Let that sink in for a second because it flips everything we know about value upside down. A fortune can be lost and rebuilt multiple times. A house can burn down and be completely rebuilt. A business can go bankrupt and you can start a new one.
Exactly.
The things that cost us money are actually very cheap and replaceable. But the things that are truly worthwhile, our mind, our soul, our body, our family, our intelligence, these came to us free. And they are completely irreplaceable.
And because we take that priceless free mind for granted, we abdicate control of it.
There is this incredible image that captures this perfectly. Imagine driving down a dusty highway and seeing one of those massive earth-moving machines roaring past. It is carrying 20 tons of dirt, just a vast, terrifying display of sheer energy and power.
Huge machine.
And way up on top, in a little glass cabin, there is a tiny man with his hands on the steering wheel, effortlessly guiding this absolute monster of a machine.
That is the reality of human potential.
You are in the driver's seat of this vast energy. So the question you have to answer is, are you going to fold your arms, sit back, and let this machine veer off the road and drive itself right into a ditch? Or are you going to keep both hands firmly on the wheel and direct this unbelievable power toward a specific, worthwhile purpose?
See, that is the two-edged sword of this law. The same rule that can lead a person to tremendous wealth and happiness can lead them right into the gutter. It all depends on how the operator directs the machine.
Let us pivot this directly to the core focus of the income beyond salary community. We are talking a lot about mindset, but how does this actually translate into tangible, real-world wealth? How does steering this machine create money?
We have to shatter a very common illusion first, the illusion of magically manifesting wealth without effort. The cold, hard truth is that the only people who actually make money work in a government mint. The rest of us must earn it.
I love the story that illustrates this. It is so relatable, especially when you see people demanding a promotion or a massive return on investment before they've actually put in any real effort.
Oh yes, the stove story.
Right. There's a man who walks into a freezing cold room, pulls up a chair, sits in front of an empty, cold stove, and says to it, "Give me heat, and then I'll add the wood."
It sounds absurd, right? But how many millions of people take that exact same attitude toward their lives and their careers? They say, give me the big salary, give me the passive income, guarantee my success, and then I will start providing value. Then I will start working hard.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it requires a complete paradigm shift regarding cause and effect. Most people have the fundamental law of wealth backward. They think you are successful if you earn a lot of money.
Which is completely reversed.
Exactly. The truth is, making money is the result of success. And success, as we defined earlier, requires purposeful service first. You absolutely have to put the fuel in before you can expect the heat.
It is the law of mutual exchange. Think of it as Sir Isaac Newton's third law of physics applied to economics. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. Our financial return is in direct proportion to the quality and quantity of service we render to the market.
You have to give to get.
You cannot enrich yourself by deluding others. If you try to cheat the system by extracting value without providing it, you will only end up deluding yourself. Prosperity must be earned through service.
So we have the foundation, we know the secret, we become what we think about, we know the mechanism. The mind is fertile soil that wires itself to our frequent thoughts. And we know the application. We must provide service first to earn wealth.
Yes.
The ultimate question is, what do you, the listener, do with this today? How do you actually rewire a brain that has been programmed for conformity for decades? There's a very specific 30-day blueprint, a test to prove this works.
And I must warn you, it is a rigorous test. It requires paying a significant psychological price.
Let's lay out the practical instructions. First, you need a physical index card. On one side, you write down your single, clearly defined goal, not a list of 10 things. One specific, measurable goal that you want more than anything else.
Keep it focused.
On the back of the card, the blueprint suggests writing a specific quote from the Sermon on the Mount. Ask, and it shall be given you. Seek, and you shall find. Knock, and it shall be opened unto you.
Now, whether you are religious or entirely secular, it is critical to understand the psychological mechanism at play here. This is not some magical incantation. By writing this down and reading it cheerfully every morning and night, you are actively programming your reticular activating system.
The RAS.
Yes, the RAS. This is a bundle of nerves at our brainstem that filters out unnecessary information so the important stuff gets through. When you define exactly what you are seeking, you are giving your RAS new instructions. Suddenly, your brain starts filtering the right opportunities, the right conversations, and the right resources into your conscious awareness.
Alongside this mental habit, there is a practical financial one. During these 30 days, you must save 10% of what you earn. But you mentioned a psychological price. What is the catch here? Because, frankly, this sounds a little too simple.
The catch is the emotional labor. You need the courage to concentrate on your goal every day and actually act on the opportunities your newly programmed brain spots. Ideas are entirely worthless without execution.
Very true.
But the hardest part is this. For these 30 days, you must completely stop thinking about what you fear. If you get overwhelmed by negative thoughts, you must drop everything and start the 30 days over from scratch.
I have to ask about that rule because it sounds brutal. What does this mean for someone having a genuinely terrible day? Let's say a major client backs out or a massive unexpected expense hits. Isn't it exhausting, if not impossible, to police every single fearful thought for 30 whole days without failing?
It is exhausting, yes, but it is deeply necessary because of negativity bias. Evolution wired us to constantly look for threats in order to survive. It is naturally much easier for human beings to think negatively than positively.
Which is why only 5% succeed.
Exactly. When you let those negative thoughts take root, you are planting nightshade back into your fertile soil. Starting the clock over ensures you are building a continuous, unbroken neural pathway of positive direction.
It is about forcefully rewiring the machine. To help with this monumental task, the blueprint references Dr. David Harold Fink, a psychiatrist who outlines 6 steps to realize success. We won't list them all, but I want to focus on 2 that are incredibly counterintuitive for our modern hustle culture listeners.
Okay, let's hear them.
First is step number 4. Trace your attitudes back through your childhood to see where you got the idea you couldn't succeed.
That is profound because it targets the root of conformity. We often carry limitations, like the belief that wealth is greedy or that you must stick to a safe profession, simply because a parent or a teacher projected their own fears onto us decades ago. Once you trace that fear back to its origin, it loses its power over your present actions.
And the other step that stands out is step 6. Act the part of the successful person you have decided to become. The brilliant editor Dorothea Brande summed this up perfectly. She said, act as though it were impossible to fail.
Impossible to fail.
This isn't about faking it till you make it in some superficial way. It is about an exercise in persistence. And persistence is simply another word for faith. You leave the how to the compounding effects of your daily actions. You just ruthlessly focus on where you are going.
Act as though it were impossible to fail. When you internalize that, you stop putting your energy into backup plans that only serve to distract you from your primary goal. This entire 30-day test is designed to strip away the noise and force you to take ultimate, radical responsibility for your own thoughts.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive for our Income Beyond Salary community, let's recap the journey. We started by looking at the grim reality of the 95% who simply conform, who let society dictate the speed of their convoy. We learned that true success is deliberately and progressively realizing a worthy ideal.
We discovered the core mechanism. We become what we think about. We realize we have to climb up into the cabin of that massive earth-moving machine of our mind and take the wheel, ensuring we are planting corn, not poison, in the fertile soil of our subconscious.
And the ultimate reality check for anyone building wealth, you absolutely have to put wood in the stove before you get heat. Financial return is simply a yardstick of your service to others. No service, no wealth.
It cuts through the modern noise of get-rich-quick schemes. It demands that you serve deeply, and it demands mental discipline.
Which brings me to a final thought I want to leave you, our listener, to mull over as you go about your day. We talked about the free versus cheap paradox, how the mind is given to us for free, and so we naturally devalue it while we obsess over things that cost money, things that are actually cheap and easily replaceable.
It's a powerful realization.
It is.
Yeah.
So consider this right now. If everything truly worthwhile in your life, your powerful, adaptable mind, your ambitions, your loved ones, your health was given to you for free, how much wealthier would you instantly become right this second if you audited your life and assigned $1 billion price tag to those free things you have been taking for granted? What if that profound realization of the immense wealth you already possess is the actual seed capital you need to start your 30-day test today?